Today, we're going to peel back the layers of Dhaka. We all know the vibrant, kind of chaotic metropolis of today, right? But what was it actually like a century and a half ago? Let's jump in and find out.
So I want you to do something. Just take a moment. Close your eyes and imagine standing on a street in Dhaka, but 150 years in the past. What do you hear? Maybe the clip-clop of horse-drawn carriages instead of the constant roar of traffic. And what do you smell? The scent of wood smoke and spices instead of exhaust fumes? It's a completely different world, isn't it?
Yeah, this captures that sensory shift perfectly. Today, it's all about towering buildings, sprawling malls, and that constant smell of diesel in the air. But back then, the skyline was low, the roads were quiet, and the city was really defined by its open rivers, like the Buriganga, just flowing freely. A totally different vibe.
So you might be wondering, how in the world can we even see this past? Well, we're able to piece together this forgotten Dhaka thanks to some absolutely incredible historical records. We've got these beautiful paintings by Charles Dyles from the early 1800s, stunning photographs from Lord Curzon's visit in 1904, and invaluable images from the British Library archives. Honestly, these are our windows into a lost world.
All right, let's start our tour way back in the Mughal era. Long before the British even showed up, the Mughals left a huge mark on the city, and some of their most famous structures hold these incredible and sometimes heartbreaking stories.
First up, Lal Bagh Fort. You know, we often think of forts as purely military places, right? All about strategy and defense. But Lal Bagh was different. It was less of a strategic stronghold and more of a pleasure garden for Mughal nobles, a place of fountains, flowers, and leisure. And its story is deeply personal. It's a story of a father's love and his heartbreak.
So construction kicked off in 1678, but then, just 6 years later, it stopped cold. Everything just ground to a halt. Why? Because the governor, Shaista Khan, was absolutely devastated by the death of his beloved daughter, Pari Bibi. He saw the fort as a bad omen, he stopped all the work, and he built her tomb right there, in the very center of the complex. The fort was never finished, just frozen in time by a father's grief.
Okay, now let's move on to Chak Bazaar. Today, if you say Chak Bazaar, everyone thinks of one thing, the incredible iftar food scene during Ramadan. I mean, it's just an explosion of flavors and aromas. But this beloved food hub has a past that is much, much darker than you could probably imagine. During the Mughal period, the very same spot that we now associate with delicious food was the city's main center for the slave trade. It was a place for public gatherings, sure, but it was also a market for human lives. It's a pretty shocking transformation, and it really shows how a city can reclaim and completely redefine its spaces, turning a site of unimaginable suffering into one of communal joy and celebration. All right, let's shift forward in time, into the colonial era. This period brought immense change to Dhaka, and not just in terms of who was in charge. It changed the very fabric of the city, new ideas, new technologies, and new institutions that would go on to shape its entire future. Take Dhaka College, for example, founded way back in 1841. This wasn't just another school, it was like a beacon of modernity in a rapidly changing world. It really represented a whole new wave of thinking in the region. It was one of the very first modern educational institutions in the entire subcontinent. And to really underscore its importance, its first principal, J. Ireland, was a scholar from Cambridge University. I mean, this was a place designed from the ground up to change the educational landscape of Bengal.
So, just as education was being modernized, so was public health. And the story of one of Dhaka's most famous hospitals, Mitford Hospital, well, it doesn't begin with a grand plan. It begins with a devastating crisis. In 1820, a massive cholera epidemic just swept through Dhaka, leaving a trail of pure devastation. The Dhaka collector at the time, Sir Robert Mitford, was so moved by the suffering he witnessed that he started the process of founding this hospital, right on the banks of the Buriganga. It was an act of compassion born directly from tragedy, and it was later renamed to honor the philanthropy of the Dhaka Nawabs.
Let's look at another landmark from this era, the beautiful St. Thomas Church, which is nearly 200 years old. It's a gorgeous piece of architecture for sure, but it holds a really surprising connection to one of the most famous landmarks in the entire world.
So, in 1863, a magnificent clock was installed in the church's tower. The total number of these specific clocks ever made for public display? It's just this number. Just 2, that's it. The clock was made by the very same firm that built the world-famous clock for London's Houses of Parliament. You know, Big Ben. One is in London, and the other one is right here in Dhaka. An incredible and pretty little known piece of shared history. How cool is that?
So as we wrap up our journey, it's really clear that history isn't just in the grand monuments. It's literally etched into the landscape of the city, it's woven into the names of neighborhoods, and it's hidden in plain sight in places we probably pass by every single day.
Just look at these glimpses. Here is a 1904 photo of the Dhaka Temple, the city's namesake, when it was completely overgrown, basically swallowed by the jungle. The history here is so layered. Some believe it may have even been a Buddhist temple before it became a Hindu one, which speaks to the region's deep, shifting religious history. And a painting of Narinda Cemetery from 1875 captures a story that goes all the way back to the arrival of the Portuguese. The layers of time are absolutely everywhere.
Dhaka really is a living museum. It's not a city where the past is separate from the present. The stories of Mughal princes, British collectors, and countless everyday people are written right into the DNA of the modern city. The past isn't just a memory, it's an active, breathing presence.
And you know what that means? We are now part of this story. The buildings we construct, the culture we create, it's all the next chapter. So the question to leave you with is this: a century from now, when people look back at our time, what story will our Dhaka tell?